Okay, so I don't remember if I talked about this in here, but just I want to remind people, if I did, that there is a skylight in your scene. And actually, I'm not using it here, so maybe I didn't talk about it. If I want to use my HDRI image that I'm using in my sky dome, in my skylight, I can make it affect my scene, and it can improve your lighting. So let's say, I don't know which one I'm using here. Let me just check. Edit M3. Okay, it's this one. So if I go back to my skylight and let's say I turn off my directional light. So you can turn off your directional light. And I can see that there's still some lighting in my scene. I think, let me just check and see. I might have a second directional light. Yeah, I do. I'm going to turn off both my directional lights. And I have a third directional light. I got a lot of directional lights here. I may also have a firelight here, or I have a spotlight. So I've turned off all of my lights, and everything in my scene is black except the HDRI backdrop. So now I know that it's going to let's just do this. It's going to show up if I do anything with the skylight, because everything else is turned off. There might be another light actually, because I can see a little bit of my character. It's probably from the fire. So I'm going to go and instead of using my SLS captured scene here, I'm going to turn the real-time capture off. And I'm going to switch to an SLS specified cube map. And I'm going to drag the one that I used for my HDRI background on top of that. Now you might not see anything or any change, but if I go to my intensity scale, I should see something if I turn that up. So I just typed in 2 in the intensity scale, and I just saw a little more of my character. And if I type in 3, I'll see a little more of my character. Let's put in 5. Okay, so if I look around, I don't have a whole lot in my scene, but the lighting that is in it, you can see a little green on these rocks. That's the green from the skylight that is in this image. I don't know if probably 10 would be too much. So I could light my scene with my with essentially what is my skylight or my sky dome. It's not the sky dome, it's a skylight. And if you've rotated, there's a source cube map angle here that we could rotate it a little bit too. I don't think I really need to do that with this one. But then once I sort of get something from the skylight, then I might want to bring back my other lights. Now, it's going to be different. Like I might have too much light, and I might have to turn these lights down once I bring them back. And then I have also somewhere in here, spotlight. So probably I don't even need that spotlight. And I'd probably want it to be a flickering light, which this one isn't. If I was going to use a spotlight there, I'd probably want it to be a flickering light. I've got flickering lights in the scene that we shot earlier, and they're pretty easy to make. So anybody that's using fire, we can make a flickering light. I can show you how to do that. But I would probably go back now, since it is an kind of an evening scene. It is supposed to be at night. I would pull some of these lights down. So the main directional light, which is kind of a yellow, is set all the way up at 18. Maybe we'll bring it down to like 10. And this one really isn't very high, so I don't know if I would really need to bring it down. Yeah, maybe a little bit. And then, of course, I'd want to go back to my, everybody should probably have some, in your scene, a post-process volume where you're controlling the exposure manually. So you put in a post-process volume, make sure you add it under volumes. And once you have it, make sure that you open up exposure, turn it on, metering mode, set it to manual, and then adjust the overall lighting of the scene. And if you're trying to make a night scene, if you can get a little bit of a dark sky dome, then you can probably adjust it to make it look night, and still have your directional lights too. All right. So I want to create some facial animation for this character because I have the other stuff that I showed before in my sequences. I've got several sequences that have animations on them that the character's moving around, doing a flip and all of that we did last time. And I showed you how to bake that, add an additive layer, and then fix the problems. In this case, the character was going into the ground. So at this point, if you're doing the current assignment, you would just go into your render settings here and set up. Here's where I don't really want you to use the built-in AVI setting, which is video sequence. Instead, I would prefer if you can do an image sequence, a JPEG, and then import the image sequence into Premiere and process it with some audio to make a movie file. Make sure you're using 30 frames per second at least. You don't have to use more than that. Make sure you're rendering at 1920 by 1080. And try to keep your quality all the way up at 100% if you can, if it's not going to crash your machine or something. And a lot of these, I think, are defaults, but make sure you have cinematic engine scalability on and cinematic mode on. That's the highest quality render. And then at the bottom, I always set how many frames I'm rendering. In this case, I've got a lot longer animation than I used to have, and I would need to set my end frame probably to something like 1500 or 1400, something like that. And I always have a warm-up frame count of like 4 or 5, because I've got a lot of lighting and stuff and visual effects in this scene, and that stuff has to warm up. If you don't put a little pad warm-up count, then your animation will start and none of that stuff will be on. And sometimes you have to have more than a 4-frame warm-up for something like fire. It still probably won't be on if I render this at the beginning. So what I want is some animation for the face on this, or whatever, not necessarily this. I'm going to record something for the scene we shot earlier. So, but I could use it on this too. And if you were doing this animation, it would probably be something at the beginning here. It's not going to be something that happens during the flip. It could be something that happens after the flip. But the thing about the face animation, you can move it around, right? It's going to have its own track. And you can move it to any part of the body animation that you want it to be on. So if I have a little padding on each side of some dialogue, maybe some just different, faces, things I'm doing with my face, and then I do my dialogue, and then I have some things that I'm doing with my face, then I can just kind of move it around to wherever I need it. Unless there's a very specific sequence of things, then it's pretty forgiving. If you have a very specific sequence of things that I have to, show a surprise at a particular part, and then at another part I have to show angry, I could do different things and put them together, just like we did with the body animation. They don't have to be part of the same shot. What we have done in the past is we've played the body animation on a monitor while someone's sitting there watching it and doing their face animations to the body animation that's playing on the monitor. So you kind of get the surprise place look at the point that you need it, and the angry look at the other point that you need it in one shot. But you don't have to do that. You could actually have separate shots, different things, and blend them together. So I need to shoot some face animation and some dialogue and record some dialogue. So what I would do is I'm gonna stop sharing for a second here so I can record something. And we'll go ahead and put this on. And I'm not going to use this camera because this camera is not not what I'd want to use, but I am going to use this ring light camera that I have right behind me. So I've set up a little station here so that I can record it. Do that. Okay, so I'm going to want to adjust this and try to get the thing so it's going to be pretty much right in front of my face, because you know it's going to have it's going to be the best capture if there's not distortion on it. And the best way to not get distortion on it is have it sitting right in front of your face. And then I'm going to need to hook my phone into it. And the way this works with the app on my phone, the Face app. So the app that I'm going to use is called Live Link Face. Looks like that one. And so when I put it on, it's going to have a Metahuman Animator. Yeah, not getting any good focusing on that. Metahuman Animator section. And then it's just going to be something that you can record from. Now, it's from this side. So if you're going to do recording, you may want to clean off that side of the camera. Then you're going to want to on the bottom of it, there's a section for typing in the name of your clip. They call it the slate name. I would put your name there. So I'm going to put Topher underscore or dash. And this is going to be Thunder. Thunder take. And then below it, there's a number. I'm going to put 1. This is the first one. And say OK. Now it's at the bottom. And I want to put that in. And set it up so that the camera is going to be pretty straight. I get minimum distortion. And I'm going to try to be more than half of the frame is covering my face. I'm going to have to take off my glasses. And then all I do is hit the big record button. But as I mentioned last time, you got to do a neutral pose, just looking straight forward. A 3/4 pose where you can see both eyes. It's really important that it can see the full part of your far eye. So when I go this way, I want to be able to see the inside part of my far eye on the other side of my nose. It's not a big move. And you'll notice that I'm looking at myself the whole time. You don't look off to the side. You look at yourself. And that's really important. because it's tracking your eyeballs, your pupils, to know where your eyes are. And so when you look to the side like this, it's tracking that your pupils are still looking at the same point as when you were in neutral. So don't look off anywhere. And you're going to extract a frame. So it doesn't matter if it all is correct. As long as you have one frame that's correct and that you can extract, then it's fine. And then you do the teeth pose, that are, and just try to show your incisors, your upper incisors. That's what it's tracking. That's what it's looking for to place your teeth. So it can be the lower or upper incisors, but the upper ones are generally the ones that are used. Now notice that I set up the ring light so that I'm actually facing a window. I don't want backlighting. And this is not like photogrammetry. I don't have to worry about if there's just shine on my face or anything like that. All I have to do is make sure that my face doesn't go out of frame and that I stay pretty much facing the camera, that I don't turn too far. So everything, you have to imagine that your head movement is going to come from your body animation. And the only thing that you're recording here is your face and your voice. So, you know, you have to imagine what it's going to look like when it's on a moving head, and focus on, you know, moving your eyebrows and moving your mouth and trying to get some, you know, movements that are going to be a little bit more than just like teeny tiny subtle movements, right? Try to be a little bit more performative about it. So I'm going to try In Thunder is the dialogue piece that I want. And he comes out and he jumps out and he says it pretty quickly after he jumps out. And I can move that around, so I don't have to have it perfect, but I do want some, like, something on my face to be when he jumps out. So it's like, you know, or some, you know, I'm gonna do something with my face before I say In Thunder. And I'm probably gonna try to make my voice a little bit like that. The one that you heard on the recording is actually processed quite a lot inside of Audacity. So it's not actually, it is my voice, but it's, I changed the pitch and things, so it sounds even more echoey and stuff. So all I need is a bass sound that matches my lip movement. So I'm gonna hit record, and the first one I'm gonna do the side to side and the teeth pose and everything. Okay, so when you're doing this, obviously you want to be in a quiet environment because it's going to come onto the audio, especially during the In Thunder part. You don't want any sounds in there because you're going to have a hard time getting them out. All right, recording. Yeah. At the beginning, it doesn't matter if you have any sounds or dialogue. So first I'm going to do my neutral. And then I'm going to do my side of the eye, side of the eye. That's a Groundhog Day reference, by the way. And then keep those. One more. Okay, so those are done. Do them again. Anything I can find in there, any good frames I'll use. And now, I could stop it there. And then record my new one. Okay, I'm about to record some dialogue. No sounds, please. Ready and. In thunder. In thunder. Okay. So I got a couple. I put them in the same track. It's fine if they're in the same track. So let's just see what that looks like. So I'd probably do more. I mean, like I do the lightning and, you know, anything else that I needed. But for this one, I'm going to go ahead and go over to my takes. And now I have a couple of takes in there. And I need them both because one of them is my sort of my setup calibration takes, and the other one is my actual performance take. And I need to move them out. So there is a slates thing, and it's a folder that has both those takes for Topher, Thunder takes. And then I will just, there's a little option for selecting and then sending them out. And I'm just going to send them to my Google Drive. These are pretty short takes, so it really shouldn't take too long for me to send them. So while that's going, I'm going to share my screen again and open up Unreal Engine. I would not process these takes in your scene file that you're using, like that you're building up, because that's got a lot of stuff in it. This just needs to process these animations and save them out. So it makes more sense for me to just have an empty scene file. So I have this process Topher Metahuman that I used originally for creating the Metahuman itself, doing the bringing in the photogrammetry head and processing it to the Metahuman Animator. So I could just use this. And I actually did that for the other ones that I did. You can see that they're already in here. Thunder, enter, Metahuman Animator process. So I'm gonna do something similar. I'll just make a new folder. Class face demo. And it's almost done uploading it. So I'm gonna, while this is finishing, I'm gonna go to my office and get my other machine, which actually I'm uploading to my personal Google Drive because it has a lot more space. And this machine is not really set up to go to that drive, so I'm gonna move the file. Really quick. Okay, so I have a zip file called live link face. I'm gonna unzip it, extract all, and look inside of it. So I can see that I have two takes here. Both of them are the thunder takes that I did. If I go into them, you'll see that the stuff that comes out of the Metahuman Animator app is not just a single video file. It's a audio metadata, depth files, some log files, other like JSON files, which are like script files. And eventually there's this move file. So that's the actual video file. But if you try to open it, it's not a normal video file. And that's the important one. All these are very small. The depth file is pretty big too. So we're going to need to point the plugin inside of Unreal Engine to this folder. So you just have to remember where this folder is. Actually, we'll probably point it to this folder because it's got two takes here and we want to bring them both in. So if I go back to Unreal Engine, I'm in here. I've created a folder called Class Face Demo, and I want to go up to my plugins and make sure Metahuman Animator is active. It probably is. I mean, it is in this one because this is the same file that I processed my Metahuman through. So I activated the Metahuman plugin back then. And that's all I really need to have active. If you don't, you'd have to turn it on, you'll have to reboot, and there'll come up a bunch of things that you'll have to approve or say okay to. But once you have it, you should be able to right-click the empty area in your folder, go to Metahuman Animator, and it will be there. And then you can go to the capture footage. So capture data footage, or I'm sorry, no, capture source. That's what I need to begin. So I need to tell it where that folder is so that it knows where my clips are. And so that's capture source. And, you know, just give it a name that makes sense, like Topher, Thunder, source, enter. And so now I have that. If I double click it, the only thing that's in there is this capture source type undefined. And I want to use live link face archives, which will give me a storage path that is basically the folders. So I'm going to go find wherever I put it here on the desktop, the folder that I just opened up. And actually, I think I put it in my class folder, and there it is right there. So I could go into this and select these individual ones, but I think it's going to take it if I just select this level here, it'll take them both. I'm going to try it just to see if it will take them both in. I think it will. So I'll go ahead and go to select folder. And just save it. And once you have that, you can close this. And now you want to go to something called the Capture Manager. You can see I've got it already docked here, but it's under Window. Actually, Tools, Capture Manager, and it'll open a floating window, or if, you know, it'll probably be a floating window like this, and I usually dock it. And you can see that it did bring in, I think it brought in, so the thing is, I named it the same as my old ones. So it's finding my old ones too, Lightning, Enter Source. But I think this is the one that I want. Yep, that looks like me, black shirt. Yep, that's the one from today. So it's got 2 takes there. And what I have to do is ingest those takes. You select one and add to queue at the bottom. It's a little bit, it's hard to see some of these buttons. There's a lot of space between them. Add to queue, and then you're going to import, but I'm going to add the other one to the queue too first. Okay, so I have 2 in my queue, and I'm going to import all. And you can see it says source ingested. There's a lot of words you could have used there. You could have put uploaded. They chose to use ingested. Okay, so succeeded on both of these. And I probably don't need this capture manager anymore, so I could just go up here and close it. And at this point, I'll check, and it says all saved, so I don't actually have to save anything. And I want to go out here, and you'll see you have a folder of your ingested clips. And I'm going to go ahead and right click on an empty area and go to Metahuman Animator again. And this time I want to do a Metahuman identity. And we'll call this Topher Thunder Demo. This is actually the name that you put on this file is the name that's what's going to come up as your Metahuman identity. But we're not going to actually create the Metahuman out of it. It's just going to be like a DNA, not a full Metahuman, because we just need the data to be processed. So I'm going to double click this. And here's where it actually is going to start connecting to the Metahuman creator. So it's going to log in or ask you to log in, or it will automatically log in my case. And you want to now, it's pretty easy. You're just going to go left to right, just like with the Metahuman creator. It's kind of very similar. I'm just going to move this zoom stuff so it's not in my way. I'm going to go here, and when we did the Metahuman creator, we did from mesh, and we went and found the head that we did from photogrammetry. This time we're going to use footage, And we're going to find the one that I just did, that I just imported. And that would be this take 1 and 2 here. I'm pretty sure those are the ones that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this one, or it's actually doing something as it imports it. It seems like your computer locks up for a second as it imports the footage. And this is a really short clip, so if you captured a longer clip, it's going to take longer. And now I have my clip here. I can go through it. And mainly what I'm going to look for are my neutral pose. So right here is where I was doing my neutral pose. I can go through and see if some of them look better than others. I think I was trying to open my eyes a little bit more, some of these. So let's say, okay, that's pretty good. I'll go ahead and take that one. So there's a little plus symbol down here. You hit plus, it promotes the frame to the front view. Say okay. And it should find where your mouth and eyes are. Okay, we'll call that the front frame. All right, then you're going to go back to the camera symbol again, and you're going to find your left and right poses. I did this a couple of times here. And again, it doesn't really matter if you have a bunch of good frames. You just want to find that one frame that you think is going to be optimal. And I think that, right there is pretty good, I think. Was I talking? Is my mouth open? I'm going to go with that one because my mouth is closed. I'm going to promote that frame and call it right. Honestly, I don't know which direction it considers left and right, and I don't think it matters. It's just going to take whatever frames you have. Why was I talking? What's wrong with me? Okay. And I'll take that one there. I'll call it left. So now I have a front, right, and left. And that should help it to better process my performance. It should, just be able to track my eyes and mouth and these features, the smile line and the eyebrows. Okay, so at this point, I'm ready to go ahead and move on. It already promoted, I already promoted frames and it's automatically tracked the markers. So I'm going to go on to the Metahuman Identity solve. And it should be just a matter of clicking that button. You might want to save. Okay, so it seems to be done. It's opened up the mesh to MetaHuman for me. If I were to go ahead and dock this and check over here, you can see that I have a skeletal mesh for my MetaHuman at this point. So it's got the DNA part of it done. And now we're going to actually process the MetaHuman. The only difference is from last time is that we're not going to do the full MetaHuman. We're going to do just the skeletal mesh. And I'm going to want to choose a body even though we're not doing the full MetaHuman because it's going to give me an error if I don't. So I'm just going to choose a body that makes sense with my other MetaHuman, which I think I was using the medium one here, medium height and medium build. Just choose something here and then go back to your, I would choose the body that you're going to put this animation on. You know, it's might as well. Probably doesn't make much of a difference. And then I'll go back to my neutral pose and choose skeletal mesh only. This one might take a little while. You can see it hasn't even let me in yet because it's waiting for the MetaHuman backend, and now it's actually processing it. Okay, now it's done. At this point, I can do a performance take. So I can go to the performance take. I've finished process. Oh, wait, no, I haven't. Sorry, I forgot the teeth. Let me go back. So at this point, I'm not done. I haven't prepared for performance, and I do want to do a fit teeth take. So we're going to add a pose for teeth. It's going to bring the camera back, and you can go find your teeth pose. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and promote this one as my teeth pose. Teeth. And in the ones that I've done in the past, it had you go into here and turn off the lower teeth, and so that it would be forced to use the upper teeth rather than do all upper and lower. And it's the incisors that it's looking at. I don't know if that's absolutely necessary. And it always brings up this error. So maybe I just won't do that this time. let's try it. I'm just gonna do the fit teeth. So I have a teeth pose now. And it will let me turn these off without giving me an error, so maybe I'll do that. And leave the upper ones. Okay, so now the last thing I'm gonna save is to prepare for performance. I'm gonna go back to the neutral pose for that and hit prepare for performance. This one takes longer than all the other ones. And I have had it crash before during this last one. So that's why you want to save. This is the last sort of intensive, um, well, of this particular part, this is the last one. Okay, it looks like it finished. Now I can close this one. Come out here and right click the empty area, go to Metahuman Animator again, and choose Metahuman Performance. Call this Topher Thunder Performance. Let's see if we can put demo in there too. Okay. And I'll double click it to open it. We'll go ahead and dock it. And this is pretty easy at this point because we've processed the other one. All we need is the footage for the performance take. So I need to go just find that. And that was the take 2. And then I needed the metahuman identity that we just made. So I'll just go find that. That's the demo one that I just created. It's telling me to use, since there's audio in this clip, to use the audio clock. Yes. And then I can. In thunder. Okay. So we'll see what that's going to look like. So the only other thing that I usually do with this is if I know I'm not going to use the head motion, I just turn this off. Or actually up here under transform track, I disable, because it's head movement mode. I just disable it because I'm not going to use head motion. When you export it, you can also choose that. I'll just leave it there for now. So I want to do every single frame. I don't want to edit it or cut it because the audio matches with the lip syncing right now the way it is. And so I always prefer to do the whole thing and then I'll chop it up later so that I make sure that I don't change the audio or make it hard for me to attach the audio to it. So I'll go ahead and process this. This is where it all sometimes crashes. So I'll just save all, and then there's a button over here called process. Just click it and it'll go through the whole thing. If you want to see it doing its thing while it's processing, maybe move these up and hit process. So you're going to see it sort of copying the animation over to the MetaHuman DNA head, and you'll see all the different sliders and things moving on the control rig. And you can see that it's not really taking all of my expression. It doesn't do, I'm really exaggerating my facial positions and stuff, and it's getting some of it, but it might be enough, or I might need to actually go back and edit it. I found that it doesn't do real well with the frowning. It does pretty good with the lip syncing. And I can see more teeth on that metahuman than on my mouth too. Mouth shape's not quite right. It'll go through once like that, then I'll have to go through again. It'll turn sort of an orangish brown before it's done. It's actually looking a little better in the second pass through. I'm seeing a little bit of actual emotions. Now, this is where I think the doing it with the ring light, where you can have the 3/4 poses, produces a better result. I tried to do this with the head rig without any of those, and I did forget to do my neutral pose and everything too, so I kind of like didn't have anything, and I had to kind of pick a pose that I thought was decent. And it really did not turn out very well, so this actually is looking better. And the way this works is that this is going to work on any metahuman, this animation, because it's processed for the metahuman controls. It's going through again, green pass. And I think it's done. All right, so
in thunder. In thunder.
okay, that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to export the animation. And I want to export it to I have a face anims folder that I'll go ahead and use. If you don't have one, just right click and create a new folder for your animations. This is has a name on it, and it's different than the ones that I have here already, so I'll go ahead and use that and save it. It's going to ask me what kind of target skeleton I want to use. Now I could use the one that I just made. There's a face archetype here. There's a face archetype skeleton. There's ones that I did before. And there's the one I did today. I think so I picked different things in the past, and I think what I'm gonna do is just use the one that I did today. Should be fine. Okay, so I don't think it matters, but the one that I did today, I already saw what it looked like on it, and it looked pretty good. So maybe I'm just going to make sure that I use that. And then if I go over here and look at it, let's just see what that looks like. And it should look the same because I already saw it. You won't hear any audio because there's no audio in this. It's just animation. So if I look at it and I think, okay, well, that looks okay, then I'm going to try exporting it by right-clicking that animation sequence, and I want to go to Asset Actions, and I'm going to export. Now, if we want to send it directly to another project, we could migrate it. But you should be able to export it as an FBX. And that should have everything in it. So let's try it. I can always bring it up again and migrate it because it's in this file. But I'm going to try just to export it so that I can import it into my other project. So I'm going to put this, I have usually I don't need to add this to this project file again. So I'm going to go all the way up to here. And I've got, this is the top level of my project. Actually, since this is for class, I'm going to export it to my class folder. And I've got one here already. So this is where I'm going to put it, where I put the other ones. It's got a different name. I'll go ahead and save it. I'm using 2020. Just, I would use the latest one, whatever it is. And I don't think you really have to change anything from the defaults, and just export it. At this point, I can get rid of this. project file and open up the other one. Wow, this really did take all class. So we're almost at the end where I'm going to run out of time. So let's just see what this looks like on the character in this project file. Again, we have that animation in the other project. If there looks like there's some issues, I could go back and try to export in a different way, like do the migrate thing, which is basically for sending from one project to another. Let's just try this one and see. I'm going to go ahead and say yes to open up my sequencer again, which has my metahuman in it. And my metahuman doesn't have a face control rig. That's really important that your metahuman doesn't have a face control rig if you're going to put animation on it. And let's go over here. I do have an anims folder with a bunch of stuff in it, but I don't have a face anims folder. So I think I'm going to go ahead and right click and just create a folder for that, because I've got a lot of animations and I could potentially have a lot of face animation. It's just hard to find them. So I'm just going to do face anims. And we'll just go and grab. Let's see. This one. That's 17 megabytes. I'll go ahead and just drag it into the folder. When I drop it, it's going to bring up the FBX import options. And the only thing I have to choose is a skeleton to put it on. So in this project, I'm not going to have the same face skeletons as the other project. And the one that you're going to want to use is the face archetype skeleton. It's actually in the MetaHumans Commons face section. So it is for MetaHumans. And none of these other ones are for face stuff. So that's the only one there. I'm going to import everything. And once it gets imported, it should come up on my MetaHuman. When I open it, it'll actually be my MetaHuman. You can double click the sequence. It looks really weird without hair and eyebrows and eyelashes. super creepy. But it should be accurate. So if I want to see whether it's accurate as far as the audio goes, which is the arguably the most important thing here, because I think it does look pretty good, better than the one I had before. So I'm going to save all here. I can go back to that other file and export the audio out. And then I can bring it in to put on the sequencer. But since I don't have it, I'm just going to go ahead and add the face stuff, the face one here. And it should come in. There it is. And I'll just add it from the beginning. Oh, okay. Let me, I'm gonna undo that. Okay, bye, sorry. Yeah, we're out of time. So one thing that I want to make sure that I do, and I might just go ahead and I want to make sure I don't use the head animation. Which I might have forgotten to check that box. I don't know if I can turn it off in here. Because I think that might be why the head popped off my character, is because it's using the head animation from the other character. I'm gonna try importing this again. Just gonna delete it. Don't really need to keep it here. It's not connected to anything. And I'm gonna try importing again and see if I forgot to click the option for the head motion. It could have been, it could have been an export option too, so maybe I need to go back and look at that one. I'm not seeing it in here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and save this and go back to the other file. I forgot to export the audio as well, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. And I'm gonna check my export settings to make sure that I didn't miss something there. Okay, so this is my performance take, and I'm gonna try exporting it again. And see if the option comes up. We'll just call it 2. All right, I'm gonna go back to my yeah, this is the one I was in earlier. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the Metahuman performance file again. Okay, it looks the same. So I'm gonna export the animation again and see if it comes up on this export. Yeah, there it is. So I'm gonna turn that off. So there is the archetype skeleton. I could export that with that because I know that's the only thing that I'm going to have to import in the other file. So maybe I'll try that. I think that might not be a bad idea. I'm going to try that. Hmm. Maybe a little different. Let's try to export it anyway. I could always come back here and try a different skeleton to export as. And I'm wondering if I can just leave the skeleton blank and it will still let me import it in the other scene, and then it will bring in the skeleton, the other skeleton, metahuman skeleton that I was using here, which could be useful. So I'm gonna go ahead and export this though, because I think it looks okay. I just think it looks a little different. And we should not have head movement this time. I'm gonna put a 2 on it so I know it's a new one. Should be done. It's there. It's same size as the other one. Now, hopefully this time, because it doesn't have head movement, it will not pop the head off the body. I'm going to import the new one in. Since I exported it with this skeleton, I'm going to choose that one again. Okay, it's there. I will go ahead and try to add it now to the face. Under animation, I should see the second one with the 2 on it. I'm going to choose it. The head did not pop off this time, which is a good sign. I do have an animation track. It's there. And I'll zoom in. And there's definitely some face things happening there. So I forgot to export the audio again, but the animation's there. I'll go back and have to export the audio in the same way that you have to actually find it inside the file. I don't need it for this right now. I can see the animation's working, but I am going to need it to tell where the dialogue actually is, because he's moving around a lot. And I think it's right there. I see the mouth kind of moving like it's doing dialogue. But to be sure, I got to add an audio track here and bring in the actual audio, and I'll be able to see the waveform, and it's probably right here. That's why I process the whole clip, and I don't like try to cut stuff out, because the audio, I just bring in the whole audio, it's going to sync up, and then chop it up in here with the audio, and it'll be easier for me to sync it for the final animation. But it's working fine. And I would have to place that, so you will be able to move this around and adjust it so that it's in the right place. When you are gonna like sync up your audio in Premiere, if you do a lot of editing here to sort of put this in the right place with the body animation before you render it, you can't really render the audio with it. It's not gonna work. Because the way the sequencer works, that real-time audio doesn't go out correctly. So you really have to put the audio in Premiere. But what you can see in your animation here is you can see the frames. And so if your audio is at frame 692 in here, then you can set your Premiere settings to frames and find frame 692 in your final rendered animation and place your audio in the right place to sync the lips back up again. It's not that hard to do. So that's it for this one. This is the process you're going to use to bring in a facial performance with some dialogue. And next class, we will record face animations with the ring light, and I'll have to process them for you to get them off of my phone if we're using my phone. If you can use your phone, it would be great. But if you have an older iPhone, you're not going to be able to. I don't think many people had the newer ones in here. So I'll have to process it for you and send it to you or upload it to Moodle. Okay, I'm going to stop this recording now.